Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the 1970s in colour, Life in America. And yeah, I've done a reaction to the 1980s in colour. I think it was from the same channel, but it might have been from someone else. But it's a similar video, sort of focused on how life was in these times pretty much. And I don't know what it is about these videos. I find them really fascinating because I'm looking at times that I'm not, obviously I didn't grow up in these times. This would have been the era or the century my parents were born. 1970 and 1971, so I guess they're kind of part of this era. Well, they literally are. But yeah, we're gonna see, I guess, what it was like, how it was different and how it was better, I guess. But also, if I seem a bit all over the place, I am pretty hungover and feeling a bit ill, so if there's sniffling or if I just slur or whatever it is, blame it on that. But we're going to check this out. Links are also in the description to my Patreon. I'm going to be getting that back up and running properly starting from tomorrow. I was going to do it today, but I'm too hungover to do loads of reactions. But I'm going to do a reaction to what was the film called? It's either the one with McLovin in the film. Like, I've not seen that film, and I can't remember what it's called. But that film, or what's the one with Adam Sandler when he was younger? It's from like the 90s as well. It's a classic film. I can't remember the name, but one of those films I'm thinking of doing. Also, Back to the Future, I'm going to hopefully do at some point as well, because that's the films I wanted to do. But anyway, you don't care about this. We're going to jump into this and see what it was like.
The 1970s was a decade of change. African Americans, Native Americans, and women continued their fight for equality.
Was this the main era? Not the main era, but was this the era where it was like as strong as any other era? I feel like it was the 60s, right? When was the whole sort of peace? I don't know what I would call it. The peace, not era, but there was like the peace badge or whatever. When did that happen? That was the 60s, right? I can't remember what the name of it was, but I guess it carried on from the 60s to the 70s, you know.
Many Americans joined the protest against the
This one here.
ongoing war in Vietnam, and the behavior of President Richard Nixon undermined many people's faith in the good intentions of the federal government.
Skateboards, pennyboards.
There were also plenty of nostalgic moments between the wild fashions of bell-bottom jeans, TV stars like Farrah Fawcett, and the disco era. Let's not forget the shag carpeting that designed homes.
This is what living rooms would have looked like. God damn, it's like you're, I don't know, in the bushes, like in Australia or something. God damn, it's like just I mean, I guess not every house would look like this, but it looks cozy as hell. I'm not gonna lie. That the carpet, the sofas and stuff,
And the stylish bowl cuts that many kids had.
oh, the bowl cuts, the classic.
In the 1970s, families only had one phone in their house. There was no such thing as a mobile phone. It was a rotary phone that stayed in some central location, usually in the kitchen, with a cord that could only be stretched so far. There wasn't call waiting or caller ID at the time, so you wouldn't know who was calling you or whose calls you had missed. The 1973 oil crisis caused a nationwide panic, resulting in around-the-block gas station lines that never seemed to move.
Damn, there was gas problems even in these times. I guess there's gas shortage worries all the time. I guess every 5-10 years there's probably just worries where the prices will go insanely high because of scares and stuff. But how is there gas shortages at this point? But then they get it back. I don't really know how there would be shortages. I understand the demand for it will go up and up, but especially in the US, where a lot of the gas and stuff they get it like from their land. I don't know. Explain it to me. I'm probably just being dumb, but
Some gas stations even started posting color-coded flags. Green indicated they still had gas, while red alerted customers that they were out.
wow. Flipping hell.
Any worksheet or homework assignment passed out to students in a 1970s classroom was likely created using either a ditto or mimeograph machine. Who could forget the way they left purple ink on your fingers, or that unmistakable smell?
What the hell?
Long road trips happened in the family station wagon. There were no GPS systems and no digital distractions of any kind for that matter. This was a time when families spent their time playing license plate bingo, as there were no smartphones.
License plate. See, this is where stuff like I Spy came from, right? Because you'd be probably just so bored sitting in your car. You just start saying I Spy. That game. It was so boring. But in these times, for me, because I probably was able to use my iPod or whatever. I didn't have a phone when I was really young, so I think I had an iPod where I could just play games and stuff, but I didn't have a phone. I was like 10 or whatever. So yeah, you just play I Spy or whatever. Other games similar to that, and I guess it comes from, these sorts of times. Maybe I Spy's old, I don't know, but just for being bored, in the car.
There were also limited food options along the interstate, so families would pack their own food for their trips.
Probably healthier, to be honest.
Another big change that took place in the 70s was the women's liberation movement. It really took hold in that era and brought attention to the inequalities for women in society and the workplace. It was a time when women began to be accepted in many different roles, not defined by their gender.
Quite fascinating how this was only in the 70s. It's not that long ago. Because you sort of see how it is now, and maybe there's still things that can be done, but you sort of see it, and it's on an equal sort of level how it should be, right? But only 50 years ago, it was a completely different thing, And even further back, it was even worse, and you just go further back, and it was completely different, but... Shout out the 70s for that.
Television in the 1970s saw a lot of significant changes. TV was a big source of entertainment for families, and was now in most households. Average Americans relied more on television than newspapers for the latest and freshest news.
Okay.
Most of the news during this time included updates on the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal. Popular TV shows now included Happy Days, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, The $6 Million Man, and MASH. Saturday Night Live was also well received.
SNL goes back all this way. What?
It's now the longest running sketch comedy and variety show in television history.
I would love to see the first ever SNL show, because I've done a few reactions on my Patreon, but the fact that it's this old, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
If you were a kid during this decade and wanted to catch your favorite cartoons, there was only one time to do it, on Saturday mornings.
Really? Only Saturday mornings? What?
Soap operas also ruled the 70s. Everyone watched them, and their storylines became part of popular culture. The ABC lineup started with Ryan's Hope, and went on for 3.5 hours, ending with General Hospital.
Damn.
Jaws was a major blockbuster hit. Steven Spielberg's 1975 classic had almost no special effects, and the shark was only seen for a few minutes at the very end. But it had a psychological effect that made the entire generation terrified of getting into the water.
I've never seen Jaws, which is wild to think. I would have assumed I have, but I have never seen it. Because that the dun 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 dun, the theme tune looks like when the shark is going to attack or whatever. It builds suspense. But has there been a Jaws after? There's Jaws 2 and stuff, Jaws 3. Maybe I've seen one of them. I don't think I have though, which is I'm baffled by that because it's such a big film.
The next big blockbuster of the decade was Star Wars.
Never watched Star Wars either.
Which premiered in theaters on Memorial Day weekend in 1977. With its groundbreaking special effects, Star Wars leaped off screens and immersed audiences in a galaxy far, far away. The film made all 3 of its lead actors overnight stars.
Wow.
The anticipation of a revolutionary movie-watching experience spread like wildfire, causing long lines in front of movie theaters across the country. The American auto industry started experimenting with developing small cars with better fuel efficiency. AMC was the first to market in 1970 when they introduced the Gremlin.
The Gremlin.
Ford followed with the Pinto, and Chevrolet with the Vega.
Look at the prices, by the way. I know it's inflation and stuff, but the prices are so funny to see. 2,769 for, I guess a brand new car at this point. Wait. With inflation, it's probably a lot more. I'm not gonna do the maths, but flipping out. And for a car at these points as well.
And Chevrolet with the Vega.
3,000.
Though they sold fairly well, especially when gasoline prices started to rise, all three vehicles developed reputations for poor construction, fit and finish, and reliability.
Looks cool though. I do like the look.
By the end of the 1970s, disco was in. The film Saturday Night Fever made its debut in 1977, and the music scene was forever changed. The film popularized disco all around the world. Disco skate nights also became immensely popular, especially while skating along with a Bee Gees song. Alongside disco, music of this decade included listening to 8-track tapes of Jackson Browne, Olivia Newton-John, Donna Summer, and Marvin Gaye. On the rock front, bands like the Rolling Stones, Van Halen, Pink Floyd, and Queen dominated the airwaves. Additionally, the 1970s saw a return of handicrafts like latch hook rugs and macrame, and sports like racquetball and yoga gained popularity.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Popular toys during this decade included the Nerf ball, which was billed as the world's first official indoor ball.
What? The Nerf ball? Is it the same brand that makes Nerf guns? I mean, I assume so. The first inside ball. I don't know how that works, but I'm sure it's still going to be able to break stuff.
Magnadoodles and Pet Rocks were also popular toys of the time.
Pet Rocks? What? I just realised what was said. Oh my god, what a... I mean, I'm not going to say scam, because I guess it was quite popular, right? And back in these times, I guess it was quite cool to have it, but... what the fuck?
There was also the first home video game, Pong.
Oh,
the
damn.
video game console played only one game, a game that simulated table tennis.
And this is obviously a classic game, right? But if you were someone who grew up in this era and you had this game, would you like be able to play this game non-stop? Because obviously it was such a new invention. Just the idea of playing something on a screen would have probably been insane to people. But it's such like a minimal, simple game. Would people have been able to play this for like just hours upon hours? I guess you probably would have, to be honest. Again, it's new. Like, I think about it now and I'm like, how could you do that? But in those times when it's all new and you got this new console that can play this game, you're gonna be loving life, man, playing it non-stop. Maybe not, I don't know, but that's what I'm assuming.
What do you remember most about the 1970s? Whether you were a teenager trying to figure things out or just getting married and starting your own family, there's one thing for sure. The 1970s was an unforgettable decade.
Fair, from this video, it looked very good. It didn't really show any negatives, did it? Obviously, there's negatives to every decade and stuff, but yeah, if you're from this decade, you must be having a proper nostalgia trip and missing it or whatever it is. But thanks for a trip down memory lane. It took my mind off 2021 for 8 minutes at least. I feel like when I'm 50 or I'm 60 or whatever, and I have a video of the 2000s or the 2010s in colour, life in the UK or life in America, it's not going to be the same feeling. I'm going to be like, thank God I'm not in that era anymore. I mean, maybe not. Maybe the fact of just being younger and all that stuff would just be nostalgic, because whenever you look back, it's just nostalgia, right? But maybe I wouldn't look back at it in the same way, but who knows? But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction, and yeah, let me know your thoughts, and then next time, like, subscribe. Peace.